welcome to this training on how to use Google Drawings. Right now I'm inside Google Drive, and then make sure that you get to Google Drive. Now, whatever folder you're in, that's where your document will be saved. So if you have a specific folder that's important to you, then my recommendation is head to that folder. If you don't have any folders, that's fine. It's just going to populate in the main area of Google Drive for you. I'm going to come over here to the left where you see the new button. I'm going to click one time. I'm going to head down here where it says more. I'm going to slide over into this extension menu. And what I want to do is I want to click right here where it says Google Drawings. That's the tool that I want to use for today. So go ahead and click one time right there. A new tab is going to open up and you're going to instantly have a blank Google drawing where you get to add content. You can add text, you can add Gifs. I'm going to explain and show you how to do that. You can change the background, you can change the overall size of the file that you are working with. You can bring in a variety of different types of content into this resource. In the bottom right corner, you can see how there are a series of small charcoal or black lines, and that is one method that you can use in order to change the size of your file. So if you want it to be smaller or larger, that is one tool that you can use in order to make your image smaller or larger. Your other option is page setup, and page setup is where you could change that. So if you are designing a yearbook page, for example, and you know that you want the size of that particular item to be 8.5 by 11, so 8.5 by 11 inches, or if you want to give it a little bit of a bleed around all of the corners, maybe you want to do 8.9 by 11.3, and you would choose inches, pixels, points, etc. That's an option for you. I think 9 by 7 is sufficient enough for me. Wherever it started is fine as well. So you can make those adjustments. These files can be downloaded as JPEG files. So when I mentioned earlier, like the idea of a yearbook page, then that JPEG file and then turn around and import it into whatever yearbook production tool or whatever it is that you are using. Or if there's ever an art contest, the Clovis Unified sometimes will have an art contest for the cover of their budget manual. This would be a tool that you could use for that. Martin Luther King is another art contest that Clovis Unified sees from time to time. And then the Veterans Memorial Building also has art contests. I don't see why you couldn't use something like this to design a piece of artwork to submit to one of those. The teacher has permission to come up here and leave comments for you. Please edit something, please modify something, shift the text or add another sentence. Your teacher can come in here and provide comments for you if needed. Or if there are a group of 3 or 4 students working on the same project at the same time, then you can provide feedback to each other. I did this part, it's your job to do that part, and so on. So that tool is available to you. If I click in the middle of the document and then do a right click, this is where I can easily change the background. You have different colors to choose from. You also have custom as an option. You can drag this around and then choose a specific color that you think is absolutely perfect for whatever it is that you're working on, and then click the word OK, and then your background will take on that color. Likewise, the background could also be an image. If you wanted to bring an image in as well, that is also an option for you as well. I'm going to highlight some of the tools that are up here. I'm going to talk about a few things up here, and then I'm going to also show you some extra tools that are available to you. This box right here, by the way, as you hover over each of these, it tells you what they are, which is awesome. So a text box, if you wanted to bring a text box in. Let's say, for example, that you're working on an infographic. Let's pretend that you just finished watching the movie Mary Poppins. Let's pretend that your teacher asked you to talk about the characteristics that identify one of the characters in that story. So Mary Poppins has sort of this attitude that everything is possible with a great attitude. I have typed that information into the text box here. Using my keyboard, I'm going to hold the Control button down, and then I'm going to touch the letter A. I'm inside this box. I clicked on the text, Control A. That means I want to select everything, but I specifically wanted to select everything inside that box. I have two options for changing the size of the text. I can click on the teeny tiny down facing triangle. I can choose the numbers that are in here. I can also choose a number that's not in here. So you'll notice the number 26 is not in here. I can actually type the number 26 and then type enter, and then it would be 26. My third option, in order to change this, is that I would use the control button on my keyboard, and I would use the shift button on my keyboard, and you have two buttons on your keyboard, one that looks like this and one that looks like this. If you use a combination of these buttons, you can use your keyboard to make the letters bigger and smaller. So Control A, and then I'm going to hold the control button down, I'm going to hold the shift button down, and then I'm going to use each of these buttons. You'll notice right here that the font size is increasing by one number at a time. Click, 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 click. So a combination of these two will allow you to use your keyboard to increase or decrease the size of these. I'm going to delete this because I don't need it anymore, but those are tools that you can use. In order to center the text right here, you can click on that text, you can come right up here, and you'll notice this toolbar magically disappears when I'm not using text, and click, it magically reappears when I am using the text. So if you are frustrated or disappointed that you can't find these buttons, just make sure that you need to click on whatever it is that you're using, and the toolbar associated with that task will then magically appear. If you want to center the text, you can click on that button. Let me teach you another strategy for doing that as well. So I mentioned the control button on your keyboard, and when you, oops, you'll notice how it shifted over to the left. That's what I want to teach you how to do. Control plus shift plus L on your keyboard is going to cause things, the text specifically, to move to the left. Now, if you want that same text to move to the right, you'll do Control Shift R. If you want that text to go to the middle, Control and Shift and E will allow it to move to the left or to move to the center. So let me show you what that looks like. I just did Control Shift L. Now there's Control Shift R. Everything shifted to the right. Control Shift E will move it to the center. And then I think Control Shift J is justify. So you want it to look kind of like a magazine where everything is straight up and down on the left, straight up and down on the right. So I personally like keyboard commands, and I use them as often as I possibly can. So if those are helpful for you, use them. If not, that's okay too. So I'm going to go ahead and move everything to the middle, and then I'm going to select everything, and then I just chose bold. Control B, Control I, Control U are bold, underline, and italicized. Right here, this is where your font styles can change. As you scoot up and down this entire list, you'll see a series of different fonts that could work for you. So find something that matches with the style that you're looking for, and then go ahead and make those adjustments accordingly. So there we go. You can also readjust the size of the text box by grabbing any one of those corners or grabbing the side or the middle dot right here. Those will allow you to move it around. If you ever change your mind and you say, uh-oh, I really don't want the text box anymore, make sure that you click on it one time to allow that border to show up, and then you would either choose delete or backspace, and then it would magically disappear. I didn't want it to disappear, so I brought it back. Please remember that your undo button is located over here. If I hover on top of it, you'll see how it says Control plus Z. So those would be your keyboard shortcuts to produce undo. If you ever make a mistake, you want to change your mind, then you can easily bring those back in. If you want to design any shapes of any kind, those are available to you here. If you want your students to write word problems and you want them to turn around and figure out the perimeter or the area of a specific garden. If Tabitha, James, and Eli each have their own garden, who has more area within their garden to plant tomatoes, vegetables, or those sorts of things, then you've got shapes. You can also organize those shapes in such a way where if you want them to convey a certain idea, then you can do that as well. The corner buttons would adjust it. Oh, let me teach you this. If you do not want the shape to distort at all, like squishy or large or those sorts of things, you want it to retain its original ratio, hold the shift button down and then move that corner button. And then whatever the original shape was, it's going to maintain those proportions, but then grow it without distorting that at all. S-H-I-F-T, the shift button. And then one of those corner buttons, keep the shift button held down the entire time as you make those adjustments. In my opinion, sometimes I want 3 items to move around and cluster together at exactly the same positioning. The shift button, I'm going to click on one, hold the shift button down, and then I'm going to come along and then select each of these. And what just happened is it selected all of these together as a group. Now that's just temporary. The minute I click off, they're no longer a group anymore. They're still individual pieces. If you ever want objects to be grouped together semi-permanently, you can do a right click after you've selected all of those, and the word group shows up right here. When you click group, now no matter how many times you select or deselect that, these guys are going to be grouped together like they're friends and they can't be broken apart. You can change your mind, right click and ungroup will break them apart, and now they're individual pieces. If you ever want to get rid of anything, click and delete, or click and backspace will remove each of those. All right, so this next bit, I'm going to show you how to bring in a picture all the way up here. Actually, let me show you how to name your file, and then we're going to do that. So up here, I'm going to call this Mary Poppins. And if you're not sure how I just did that, just click up here in this little faint rectangle and then name your file up here. You can change that name as many times as you want to, but this is where you name your file. I'm going to click up here on this tab. And you'll notice how the document, the item rather, that I'm working on is here, and that name has just appeared right here. I'm going to come back here to Google Drawings. I'm going to click on the word insert. When I click image, you have several different strategies to use. You can use the camera on your computer if you want to take a picture of yourself, or maybe you want to take a picture of a math idea. Maybe you drew that out on a piece of paper or a whiteboard, and you want to take a picture of all of your hard work, and then you want to come into here and then explain the strategies you used for that math question. Well, that would be an option. If you have a URL or a web address associated with a picture, that would be an option. Google Photos, Google Drive, searching the web, or upload something from your computer. Right now, I'm just going to search the web. So I'm going to choose the magnifying glass right here. When I choose the magnifying glass, I have a toolbar that appears over here on the right. I'm going to click up in here, and then I'm going to choose maybe a runner. A runner is somebody who is determined and focused and isn't going to quit. Right here, I'm going to click one time. When I click one time, I'm going to come down here where it says insert. After I choose insert, it'll take about 15 to 20 seconds, and then that picture will arrive in here. Earlier, when I was showing you how you can resize things, I used that shift button. So this is why it's important. You don't want to distort that original picture. I'm going to hold the shift button down, and then I'm going to click on. I'm going to leave my index finger down on the mouse. I'm going to slide in, and then I'm going to let go. So position that picture exactly where you want. The background doesn't match very well with this particular picture, so maybe you would like to change the color. I have a Google Chrome extension up here by the name of Color Pick. If I click on this one time and then I roll my mouse over anything on the screen, it's going to give me a code. It's going to let me know exactly what that picture, that particular color is, so that I can go back in and choose that exact same color. So let me click right here one time. When I click, it captures this code. I am going to copy that. I'm going to come to the background, right click, background. I'm going to choose custom, and up here, if I paste the code that I just captured from Color Picker, I can click OK, and now the background becomes that exact color that I just did. Wow, how do you get that tool? If you click on the plus symbol and then you choose Chrome Web Store, you can come over to the left when you are inside the Chrome Web Store and you can type in Color Picker. I don't know that this one is exactly, Color Pick without the ER on the end. So as you can see, there are various options for you. Color Pick is the one that I used. I don't know why I used that one. Maybe you like Color Picker better, or Eyedropper. There are other tools that are very similar. You are going to click right here where it says Add to Chrome, and then it magically appears up here in the top, and then you can use it whenever you want to. That's an added bonus feature. I'm not going to slow down to show you how to use that tool, but that is available to you. So here are the words, here is the picture, and then maybe I am asking my students to explain this. So if I copy and paste and then I bring this down here, maybe I want to take the bold off and maybe I want to bring that size down a little bit. Maybe the requirement within the assignment is that the children have to turn around and explain that a little bit more. Why did you choose this as your theme? Why did you choose this as your picture? And then go ahead and explain it a little bit more. And then you can require that the children add more content down here. Maybe those are the 3 features that they must have in this assignment. The next thing I want to show you is how to bring in an animated GIF. I'm going to click on the plus symbol all the way up here. I'm going to type in GIF. Oftentimes, I find that Google wants to put the letter T after here, like, ooh, you're spelling it wrong. So I don't, I just want GIF. And then I want a giraffe. And then I'm going to press enter. When I do that, I'm going to have some pictures that show up here at the top. I'm going to come up here where it says images, click on images one time. And then all of these items in here are classified as GIFs. Not all of them are going to be animated. Some of them will be animated and some of them won't. I'm going to click here one time. After I click one time, it was hard to see. It didn't last for very long, but it's kind of like there is a candy cane, if you will, sort of stripes along the bottom that's gray and white. I ask that you wait a few seconds for that content to load so that you can see whether or not this is animated. Okay, if you don't like it, come up here and then click on the X for this to disappear, and then you can scroll down and then you can choose another one. In order to save time for this video, I'm just going to stick with that top one. I'm going to click on here again. That gray line didn't last very long. I was hoping it would. I'm going to click here and I'm going to leave my finger down on my mouse. My finger is going to stay on my mouse for quite some time. I'm going to slide all the way up here back to the tab that I was working on. I'm going to come back down here and then I'm going to let go. Wait about 15 seconds depending on your internet speed, and then the GIF should populate in there. So I like my runner better than I like the giraffe for this particular one. But if your students are talking about the lifestyle of the life cycle of animals or any other attribute, and they feel that an animated GIF would be perfect, then you could drop this in and then reposition it as you need to. I'm going to get rid of this. I just wanted to make sure that you know how to use that feature. By clicking the delete or the backspace button, it disappears. On the animated GIF, as well as pictures, the cropping strategies are the same. So a standard crop is going to be just your corners or left and right. You want to get rid of some of your picture. Crop, C-R-O-P, that means you want to cut something off. Now, you can always use the standard cropping tool, but if you click on this little, it kind of looks like a triangle, a down-facing triangle. If you choose the down-facing triangle, you can actually crop your images and your animated GIFs using any of the shapes that you see here. So maybe there's a different shape that you feel would produce a bigger impact, would be more vivid, would help you communicate your theme or your idea better. So I just wanted to make sure you knew that that cropping strategy was an option for you. In this next portion of the video, I want to explain to you how to work with these different boxes. If you, how on earth did I get those? I came over here and I just added a couple shapes. Click and then drag, slide, let go. Click, choose whatever shape you want. Click, leave that index finger down, slide, 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 and then let go. And you can readjust and reposition these as you choose. I want to make sure that you understand how to change the line on the outside, the color on the inside, and I also want you to know that you can actually type inside of these. I'm going to double click inside of this one right here. So after clicking in here, okay, so once you click in here 2 times, then your cursor shows up, and then you have the luxury of typing in whatever content is important to you. So if you want the children to build a cell wall or a cell model, here's a mitochondria, here's the ribosome, here's the cell wall, the nucleus, those sorts of things. The children can actually use those shapes and then identify each of those pieces. Other sorts of information can also be included into these shapes, whatever the purpose of your assignment is. Now, here's another thing that's sometimes curious. Maybe you don't want this one to be in the back. Maybe you want it to be in the front. Maybe you want this one to be in the back, even though it's somewhat in the front. So the order that these are stacking, if that ever is incorrect for you, you can come all the way over here to where it says arrange, and then it says order, and you can use any of these keyboard shortcuts that are available here, or you can click on each one of these. So if you want to bring something forward, control arrow up is forward. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to hold control arrow up, and you'll see how it just came in front of that circle. And then eventually it'll come in front of that one. I had to click the arrow up a few times because of the order of those other shapes. Now, if I want this one to come forward, control arrow up, 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 it eventually comes to the front. So that is the tool that you would use in order to make sure that the order is appropriate. If you want the color of the outline or the inside to change, the bucket is what would change the color of the interior of that shape. The line over here is what would change the color of the exterior or the perimeter of that shape. And those are right here. The thickness of the line can be changed using this right here. And then the type of exterior line, you would use that other item. It disappears when I click off of it. So those strategies are available for you right there. If you ever want to bring in a line or a specific kind of line, then you would use this particular tool over here. If you want to connect your ideas or develop a mind map, or if the children are designing a game, Germany produces some amazing board games. If a task for the children is to design a board game, and then they have to build the path for the board game, then that would be a tool that they can use, and they can illustrate where the characters are supposed to go on that board game. The text inside of a box of some kind, if you want it to be bulleted or numbered, it's shadowed right here because I didn't click on a text box. If you need a table, you can put that in there. If you want to change the fill color, you definitely have the bucket. Oh, I don't need to use this tool anymore. Sorry. The bucket on screen here. However, right here, fill color is also available. Insert, chart, diagram, word art, line, other tools. I recommend that you spend a little bit of time going through here and looking at each of these so that way you can see the various different skills and strategies that you can use while using this product. Spell check, in my opinion, is a very effective strategy. I would caution and encourage the children to use that as well. If you want the children to turn their artwork in via Google Classroom. I have another video on Google on my YouTube channel that you would use in order to teach the children how to upload that document. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I hope this tutorial was helpful for you and that you enjoy using Google Drawings. It is a pretty fantastic tool. Have a great day.